squad continues to please and wow its core fan base, and since some major life updates, the average player count has grown to around 8,000 players a day. Not too shabby, boys and girls, but not exactly groundbreaking either. However, it's unfair to compare squad to a game like Call of Duty, Battlefield or War Thunder, and that's with good reason, my pedigree chums, because there really is nothing else quite like squad out there, and therein lies its biggest problem, because how do you grow a fan base into what it deserves to be when many might dismiss it as just another wannabe Call of Duty? Well, let the Cockney gamer put that right in today's review, as I'll explain why squad is the granddaddy of the military shooter and why you need to get daddy's credit card and buy yourself a copy. So grab yourself a cup of tea and let's have a chat. Now, Reggie here is shit at squad. I make no argument to the contrary, people. And in this footage today, you'll see for yourselves how I'd struggle to fight myself out of a paper bag. But that's ultimately squad's endearing quality, because it demands that you learn the mechanics of shooting. It demands that you educate yourself on visual recognition of enemies, and it demands you learn to be methodical, tactical, and damn bloody smart in how you move through an area. And it does just enough to coax new players in, offering a decent tutorial to get you wet for action. Squad is simple in that it pits two armies against each other on a ridiculously large map. Each army is made up of squads which you can join, and within each squad you'll be able to designate your own personal role. So if you want to pilot a chopper, then you gotta choose a pilot, and with that you'll be given a different loadout to, say, a rifleman. It's here where you realise this game craves realism. Each squad has a leader which you can of course volunteer to be, recommended when you actually learn the bloody game, where they in turn take orders from the commander, another role that is up for grabs. Now the commander is dishing out orders on the tactical map, ensuring towns are secured or rally points built, and it's on you minions to ensure his or her orders are met. Here is my first love of the game. You see, in a game like COD or Battlefield, it's very much an arcade first-person shooter, but set in a military world. Invariably, the team with the best spotty teenage players will always win the multiplayer rounds, and usually everyone is in it for themselves. But not squad. It truly is a team game. Its whole ethos is about team play, and it has a wonderful community to help you learn the ropes. It's also a good time to point out that microphones are pretty much a must here. Not impossible to play without, but you'll always want to show you are present and willing and understanding orders at hand. And because of that great community, you won't ever come across Death to Noobs 2010 screeching down a microphone like he's just discovered what wanking is.
Hello? Who's that? Oh, God!
As mentioned before, you'll have to master a few basic things, such as giving a bearing on where gunfire is coming from, versus being the little twat that says someone is shooting to me from my left, as that ultimately means nothing to those around you. But where squad shines is in those firefights. In Reggie's eyes, nothing in gaming compares to the sheer intensity and drama. It reminds me of the Battle of Bethnal Green, where Johnny Two Shoes and Frank the Mank had a little shootout. Lovely stuff it was. Once your commander has designated an area for securing, you and your squad go about the objective. Now, what adds to the realism here is the build-up. You and the boys will saddle up in the back of a truck, and someone in your team will kindly play a bit of Jimi Hendrix just to get you in the mood. And the drive can be long, taking a good few minutes to get where you need to be as your team discuss the location and what is needed. It's that anticipation, people, that tension. It comes in, especially as you see other teams dart off in different directions and helicopters flying over to offer support. And you know the opposition are doing exactly the same thing as you are. As you get to your destination, there is this mad rush, quickly securing firing zones, perhaps building a rally point for a respawn, or help building a fortification such as a heavy machine gun placement. You'll maybe secure high ground, looking for good cover, whilst also looking for that great vantage point. Your brain, it's in full Metal Gear Jacket mode. And then you have the best bit of all, silence. Just an eerie moment of waiting and seeing what the enemy might do or where they might come from. And just like the Christmas dinner fart, that wonderful silence is broken with a cacophony of sound.
Back up, back up, back up.
And this is where Reggie struggles, because understanding where the gunfire is coming from is a skill in itself. Certainly for inexperienced players, it can be disorientating, because you know you've been seen and you've been shot at and you hear the bullets fly past, but by Christ, you can't see where from, and before you know it, you consider changing your name to Riley Reid, as you are getting fucked in the arse big time. And these firefights are intensive. Your gun will sway, panic will set in, your limited stamina will quickly dwindle as you try to run for cover. Explosions will be heard and jets will be flying over. It's not as gratuitously exaggerated as Call of Duty, but it's definitely more hard hitting, more violent in its battle mechanics, and more panic inducing. It's truly a great moment of gaming, and one you should all experience if you are into these multiplayer war games. Another core aspect of Squad is the supply lines. As seen with Russian forces in Ukraine, an army not supplied logistically is a shit army. In Squad, you as a team need to deliver ammo and construction materials to the front lines to build. You'll see people flying in helicopters, transporting troops, or Logi trucks, delivering those much needed supplies to give you a tactical advantage on the battlefield. And these are finite materials, people, with finite vehicles, meaning that their destruction can be a big boost to the enemy. It's another angle showing how Squad strives for that realism. As much as I love Squad though, not everything is perfect here. The tutorials are decent as mentioned, certainly enough to get you up and running, but more detail would be appreciated. An understanding of how to place markers down on a tactical map would be of use, or a better explanation of how stamina works. Even a session on some terminology would be great, so you don't feel like a right dickhead joining for the first time, speaking nonsense to your fellow squad members. The fan base is loyal and experienced, but it does feel like a barrier to entry if you don't speak the lingo, and I would argue lessens the initial enjoyment when you are learning the ropes. Secondly, as mentioned, the mic is pretty important for a lot of players, and understandably so, given the tactical nature of the game. Sadly, there are times when I've got to play at night when the trouble and strife is sleeping, bless her heart. So with that, I can't talk for fear of waking her up. So being micless means I get kicks from a squad regularly. Finally, there needs to be some training videos explaining exactly what all the game modes mean and do, and give more information around critical building structures. As you can see, much of my critique is really aimed around those new players, and even now I struggle to learn the game given how serious it's taken by its players. Graphically, it's not going to top a Call of Duty or Battlefield, and that's okay, because what it does do is provide much more authenticity in the huge maps, with the art style giving a genuine feel to battles. And to be clear here, it's still a bloody looker, with a recent graphical upgrade providing a lot of nice particle effects, such as seen with smoke grenades and vegetation taking on a much more better appearance. It would be nice to see some more dynamic maps, perhaps where weather changes throughout, as some battles can rage for an hour as teams to and fro, but explosions look great, textures are certainly more than decent, and the landscapes look and feel like their real life counterparts. I would say the buildings are a little boxy and sharp in places, making you realise it's very much a game from a small studio, but overall, people, it's totally believable. One of the best aspects for me is the feedback you get visually when being fired upon. Suppression fire will make your head fuzzy, bleeding out will drain colour from the screen, your screen will shake when explosions are near enough. It has all these little clues throughout to give you insight into the environment around you. One of the best features of Squad though is sound. If you can muster the cash, get yourself some decent Porn headphones and treat yourself to the epic audio settings. Sound is everything in Squad, and whilst visually I have some trouble seeing enemies, it's really the sound which is the big giveaway. You can quickly understand an enemy's position from the crackle and whip of gunfire, and even start to understand the range based on where bullets hit surroundings. Bullets whistle overhead, and explosions, they melt your eardrums. When you combine it with the very real experience of teammates giving feedback on firing locations or screaming their demise, it combines to create a sense of frenetic action that few other war games can match. Vehicles and aircraft also sound great as they dart off into the distance, but you can see the developers here really have pushed the sound mechanics to the max and thought of how to give the player that battle feedback in every possible way. To sound a bit of a wanker here, the sound in Squad is to be listened to rather than heard, and that's because of what it gives you in terms of information. It's wonderful stuff, my pedigree chums. So, Squad then is an absolute blast to play once you get over those initial hurdles. It has a bit of a learning curve, but one that is not insurmountable, and you'll die over and over again, but you'll keep coming back because it has that drug effect where you know a high is always around the corner, where a moment of true brilliance is upon you, and you'll be shitting your pants with joy and panic as a huge battle rages down. The problem with Squad is its size of 8,000 players, because a game like this is built on its fan base, and without these players, Squad is nothing. It's a healthy number for now, and hopefully the audience continues to grow, because Squad is a piece of gaming magic, and hopefully this review encourages just a few more of you to join the battle. And with that, my people, love to you all. Reggie out.